Oh, hello. I didn't see you come in. I'm Steve McLaughlin, head of data at Ippon Technologies, and this is the Data Point. My guest today is Andy LaMora, and we are at Common House in the heart of Richmond, Virginia. Andy, good to see you.
Hi, Steve.
All right. They're all set up for us, shall we?
Let's go. After you.
Let's go. I get to interview my boss, so it's nothing but softball questions. So just get ready for stuff like, Andy, how did you get so handsome?
Excellent. I can tell you, no problem. It'll take an hour.
All right. Hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at Ippon and a little bit about your journey and how you got there?
Well, I'm the Chief Technology Officer, so I oversee our consulting organization. But I also have a mandate to try to look on the horizon and see what's coming and steer our technology policy towards it. Yeah. As for how I got here, it was a very direct line,
sure.
Just like everybody else.
Is.
Right. I spent close to 20 years really in consulting, and a lot of that was with open innovation. So working in a firm called Topcoder for many years, where we would use the power of the entire world to solve problems. We do it on an outcome basis, and it gave us...
Yeah, Topcoder is a really interesting story. Can you maybe give like a 30-second, like what Topcoder was?
Sure.
For anyone who doesn't know.
Topcoder was founded back in 2001. And it was on the idea that you could find the best coders in the world by running competitions that would attract them. And it was very effective. The folks who came and competed on that are some of the household names that you'd know today in business. But we also found that it was a great way to develop software. And so what ensued after that was an exciting journey to see where we could apply this methodology towards solving problems. But really what we were focused on was solving problems. So it was, can you create a data science solution to this particular problem for a company that doesn't do data science as a rule? And can you do it on demand?
And I'm sure part of the draw for people was these are challenging problems. And am I right that sometimes those were, people who had full-time jobs and this was something extra for them on top of? Or was it more generally like, okay, I'm going to devote my whole X amount of time to this?
We had all the above.
Yeah.
Very few people were doing it full time. Many people were participating in some other activity and doing this on the side. And it turned out that that's actually the ideal. That's what you wanted, right? You wanted somebody who was an outstanding scientist by day and just happened to notice that the problem that you want to solve is something that they might know the answer to.
Right, because they're intrinsically motivated to solve that problem. So you get people who are truly committed to figuring that out.
Right.
That's a cool model.
It's very powerful, right? So people get up in the morning and put their boots on, ready to go work for you.
Right.
Right, and it's exciting, and it was exciting for people who participated as well. But a lot of that was because during that time, from 2000 to 2015 or so, it was very difficult as a developer to gain access to really interesting problems. Now, what's happened since 2015 is that it's gotten a lot easier to get access to really interesting problems. It's still not, you can't just go out and shop them, but the problems that people are called on to solve today are involving more and more of those techniques that we would have considered to be pretty cross-disciplinary then.
Right. What was it in 2015 that shifted?
Good question. I noticed the time, I think, more than I noticed the cause for it.
Was it a lot of the tools kind of caught up with some of the open source ethos, things like GitHub and places where you could now go contribute to these massive projects fairly easily.
Right.
I mean, was that something? Maybe?
That was part of it. It wasn't just SourceForge anymore.
Sure.
Right.
Visual source safe.
Yes, exactly. SVN. Can we go down this path?
Right.
How far can we go?
Tortoise.
Yeah, I still have it. Thanks for that diversion.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of it. Part of it too was folks coming out of school programs too, that weren't just teaching you to code, right? They were also teaching you engineering, and imagination played a big part of it. So folks having a better view on rapid development of product of understanding that when you're working on something, you have a destination to get to that isn't just a status report.
Gosh, that's a whole other line of conversation we could have, but it is interesting. This like product mindset probably started taking hold around that. So suddenly people were I'm just solving a coding problem. I'm thinking more holistically, and that kind of became everybody. But that's probably a whole other.
There's so much there. There's so much there.
Yeah.
But that's a big part of it. And what you just started to see more often, though, even in different companies, was there was more scouting. Like let's not avoid solving a problem because there isn't somebody in my direct reporting tree who knows how to solve it. Let's scout across the organization. And we began seeing that more and more at every size company. And you'd see different approaches towards it. Some would be very formal. They would set up centers of excellence. One of our customers, NASA, which was a very exciting.
That's a decent customer.
It's a pretty good customer.
I've heard of them.
Once or twice. They make the news now and then.
They're the little indie space organization, right?
No, I think they're in music. Yeah. So they set up something called the Center of Excellence for Collaborative Innovation. Now that was right around the era we're talking about, but the idea there was the same as you'll see at different other companies now, whether it's Skunkworks or it's a Tiger Team or approaches like that. How do we take a outcome-based mindset and look across an organization or even beyond the boundaries of an organization to find people who have the insight that you need right now and come and build it up.
Right. Very cool. That sounds like a very exciting journey.
It was an exciting journey.
So after Top Coder, sometime between Top Coder and Ippon, what was life like for you?
Well, there was an acquisition or two in there.
Those
are fun. So we were picked up by a cloud company, and then I spent the last several years working at Wipro as a global director in our data science business.
Okay. Cool.
And that's exciting because it gives you an international view of the types of problems that people were working on. And it was rewarding work. Right. But I stepped away from that a couple of years ago with an ex-customer to start a startup. It was time to pursue that journey.
That's cool.
And we had it was wonderfully rewarding. It didn't reach the point where we thought it was going to be profitable enough to continue. And so.
But you gave it a shot.
We gave it a shot. We like to think we had a pretty good impact. We were working in the carbon space, specifically on abandoning or pursuing the cleanup of abandoned oil and gas wells.
Oh, gotcha. That's interesting.
It was a lot of fun.
It's a very niche problem. Well, I got to ask you, you talked a little bit about data science, and of course this is a podcast about data.
Yes.
Is it classified as a podcast? Is it a vodcast? We've got video. What does that make it?
I think it's whatever you want to call it.
It's a podcast, but worse, because you got to look at me. So it's actually worse.
It's a Vizcast?
Yeah.
I'm going with Stevecast now. Okay.
I like that. It's a Stevecast, yeah. The Stevecast network. Anyways, when did you first kind of realize the value of data? I mean, was there a moment that you can remember where you were like, I now see this? Because you diverted into data science, but I don't think that was your original background, right?
Yeah, my original background was biology.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit of a diversion. And also kind of common. A lot of data people started in bio or chemistry.
A lot of life sciences, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of life sciences.
It might have a lot to do with the era of when we were experiencing that or going through that education. For me, it was, so to answer your first question, I can't think of a time when I wasn't interested in data. Yeah. Going back to my earliest years, to be honest with you, right? It might be a curious mindset, it might be just always wondering what's over the next horizon. Can I build this? If I put this high enough in the tree, will the tree start to lean over? Like, how far can we go? And a lot of that required understanding the data that would go into pressing your luck, basically.
Right.
Even in high school, in our competitions, we would study rules and study the other teams we were playing. So data has always been at the center of anything I pursued. In the biology case, we were working on what was then called microbiology. For now, it would probably be called precision medicine or even stem cell work. And I won't get into too many specifics on it, but I began working in a lab my freshman year. And one of the first jobs that I got as a freshman was to use a microtome, which is a thing with a razor that cuts specimens embedded in paraffin wax into tiny little slices so you can put them on slides. It is the most demanding and mind-numbingly boring task you can possibly imagine, mixed in with a healthy dose of panic. Because if you screw any of those up, you might have just messed up months of preparation and experimental work that went into it. So high anxiety, very boring, screaming for automation. So my second job was to use a silicon graphics machine, if you remember those, with a CCD camera attached to a Zeiss microscope. And we had to take pictures of these specimens and reconstruct them in 3D. My job was to figure out how to make all that happen, because we had a software program that would do it, but it was pretty rudimentary. There was scripting involved in making sure the data sets were in the right place, aligned, they weren't flipped or anything like that. One thing led to another, and I'm learning about memory allocation, I'm learning about device management, I'm learning about X windows, and it got to be, by the end of my career in college, I was working on computer integrated, assisted devices and
Very cool.
things like that. So computers were the way to go.
Yeah.
That's what my passion lied.
Well, that's awesome. All right, Andy, before we enjoy this delicious beverage, if it weren't for technology, what do you think you'd be doing?
You even prepared me with that question. It's a challenge. I'm not too sure. But if I had to guess, I'm a sax player. I'd like to think maybe that would have more of a role.
Yeah.
But I would probably be in research of some kind, pursuing a puzzle and solving it. It's one of the main attractions of this business in the first place.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Right. I mean, everyone in this space are problem solvers, right? And sometimes that's a funny problem. You'll have a room of technologists and a problem will come up and everyone's starting to solve it.
Exactly.
Like, hold on, take a step back. We got to start asking more questions. Yeah. And I think that's just our natural inclination, is to solve problems.
Especially when it's an example.
Yeah, that's right.
Please don't solve this. It's just an example.
Let me ask you this. When your wife has had a bad day, do you jump right to trying to solve problems, or have you learned now the wisdom of, I just have to ask questions?
On the advice of my attorney, I declined the answer.
Good answer, good answer. Okay, why don't we try this first beverage, which is called a security blanket. It is vodka, lime juice, pineapple juice, I'm trying to remember from memory, bitters, and mint. I think that's it. I think I covered it all. I think I covered the ingredients. This is, all of the cocktails here at Common House are named after books that they have on the shelves in there. I have no idea what book this is. I've never heard of Security Blanket. Someone out there probably has and been like, oh, I get the reference. Maybe there's a reference in here, but it's lost on me.
I've seen it in the Schultz cartoon.
There you go.
Is that close enough?
Cheers. Let's see how this thing is.
That'll do just fine.
Ooh, that's good.
So how much of this can I have during this meeting?
You know what? As much as you're comfortable having. This would be delicious up on their rooftop by the pool. This is definitely a summer drink.
There's a rooftop?
There's a rooftop.
That we can get onto?
We're going to check it out.
Without getting in trouble?
We're going to take some video of the rooftop to show that off. And I'll talk a little more about Common House here in a little bit, but very briefly, it is a social club right here in the heart of Richmond. It's membership based, and it is one of my favorite places to hang out in the city, as many people who know me well know by now. So my wife and I are members here. We love it. I'm coming back tomorrow for breakfast. I love it here. It's fantastic. The vibe is just perfect.
I can see why it's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. For now, I'm going to enjoy this drink and move on to the next question.
I'll join you.
It's 2024. AI is all people talk about. There's excitement, there's trepidation, there's fear, there's a huge opportunity to be exploited. How do you navigate all of frankly, the noise? How do you navigate it? How do you keep tabs on what's real, what's hype, what people should be concerned about, what people shouldn't be concerned about? How do you process it all?
Well, here, fun fact that I read this morning that I'll share just for a counterpoint to that. You mentioned how it has definitely captured the waves in our attention and our imagination. The entire AI business right now is somewhere around 20 billion. That's what it's generating for people, which is about exactly the same as the AirPod market. Just
That's
the
interesting.
just the AirPods.
I really find that hard to believe. That's really interesting.
It's incredible, right? That's No Mercy, No Malice, if you need a reference, the Professor Galloway stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So it's good to keep it in perspective, not
yeah,
because...
the hype doesn't meet the revenue.
Right. Yet.
Yeah, right. Sure.
So,
Sure.
you know, AI is a convenient term that carries a lot of history. Whether it's data science, machine learning, algorithms, you know, regression.
Right.
There's a whole conversation to have just around that. So I think I'll take a crack at the answer by boiling it down to the most basic form, which is just value. What value does it provide? What problem, we were talking about solving problems. What problem does it solve? The best way in my mind to approach this problem, this question, 9 times out of 10, is customer or job or specific thing value.
Right.
And it has a wonderful focusing effect. So if you're focusing on, you know, what is it that I need to be incrementally better or faster or more automated or more consistent, then this is a great technology to look at. And now, of course, that doesn't begin to touch all the other, let's call it, innovative ways that this can be used. You know, people find a lot of just comfort in talking to ChatGPT to help go through brainstorming and ideation.
Yeah, it's a great brainstorming companion.
It's a great one. And if you have difficulties in communicating, if you are someone who naturally thinks in terms of bullets, which a lot of technologists do, myself included, it is wonderfully helpful to be able to turn it into prose. So there are ways that people are experimenting with it now that will put a completely different face on it in a couple of years, and who knows what that'll be. It's certainly not going to be the same size as the AirPod market then.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Wow, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting fact. I didn't know that. That blows my mind, actually.
That's kind of crazy, yeah.
I would have thought it was 100 times that, 100-fold. Based on the noise, you know, you would assume so.
Just remember, Amazon was once small.
That's true. That's very true. Wow, that's interesting. I love that you mentioned this like focusing effect, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I'd like to pick your brain on it. What do you see as the future in data management and data governance, specifically as it relates to AI? And I'll share an observation of mine first, and then you can either agree with or maybe totally take that a different direction. I see it having that space having a renewed vigor. Because I think data management, data governance, it's one of those things people know they need, like exercise, and then it doesn't get done. Because other things are more interesting, more pressing, and it just kind of falls by the wayside. But I think AI has really re-energized those conversations in organizations. And something I'm seeing is that people are coming back to it, really thinking about it again at the top level. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that space.
Well, while you're mentioning that, it almost kind of teed off a tangent for me a little bit, kind of a counterposition to what I just said. You could argue that one of the benefits that AI is going to bring is the long-term value that we always ignore now, right? You know, you mentioned that data governance, we all kind of know it's important. We preach it all the time how important it is because in our roles, we get called in for disaster recovery.
That's right.
Right? We're there when things go wrong.
I have to remind people, consultants don't get called when things are going great.
Right.
Right? Either we're in a crisis or we're at a major transformation point. And none of those cases are smooth sailing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, everyone's wearing a hard hat, coming in ready to go. Yeah, we want to save. But one of the benefits of AI could very well be that it begins to think long-term for us. So some of those tasks start to get, if I'll say delegated to, I mean from a workload, not a decision load, right? But if they start getting delegated to an AI solution, it means that we can continue with our bad habits of focusing on the immediate return problems first, but maybe without the same consequences.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And you talk about even good ideas are a dime a dozen with AI right now. You can dream anything, but yeah. I think about things like a data catalog, where historically those are very hard to actually stand up. They take forever, and I think it's in the not too distant future that can be as simple as hitting a couple buttons and adding some connection strings and AI figuring it out for you.
There it is.
And in the not too distant future, something that would take months to implement could take literally minutes. So those types of things have me excited. Anyways.
Oh, I agree entirely. Here's the problem though. They will be that's almost entirely true. And when we start using them, they'll be almost entirely correct.
Almost. Yeah.
Almost.
Almost being the operative word there.
Yeah.
Or confidently wrong.
Very confidently. I'm gonna go on the optimistic side of this right here.
I like that.
But the problem is, the question is though, how can you tell? How do you know? How do you know that it's hallucinating? How do you know that it's giving you, that the catalog is inclusive of everything that you need to know, and it hasn't swapped something, right? What if it says chocolate and vanilla bean, jelly bean, and then you get into it and actually the chocolate's pointing to the jelly bean, vice versa, right? What sort of governance can you put in place that will help you have confidence, right, in the work output of these tools that aren't based entirely on past performance, right? Because that's a trap that's easy to get into. It's like, well, it's always worked pretty well, it must have worked pretty well this time. And there are a whole school, the really interesting part is there are whole camps that will tell you as though humans do any better, right? But you can ask a human questions about why it made that decision.
Sure, and can you do the context, trace back a little bit,
and you'll
just be like,
yeah, right.
Why do you say that? Because it's the answer.
Yeah, that's what you're dealing with AI. So that's not to say it can't be done. It can be done, it will be done. But one of the areas that I spend a lot of time thinking in right now is cross-validation. So any of us that worked in data science and algorithms, till now, know all about cross-validation, right? And the sort of tests that you would expect to see in order to support somebody's conclusion that the work they did was trustworthy. That piece is missing right now, right? Now, here's the thing. I actually think that's okay, right? We have this big tool that's not yet too powerful. By all means, go make mistakes.
Sure.
First of all, you're going to learn how it works. But second of all, you're going to get a little bit burned. And better to get a little burned now than a lot burned later.
Yeah.
So definitely go all in and try it out. See how it works. But keep in mind that the oven is hot.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Love that. So before we go into our next questions, just a little bit more about Common House, where we're enjoying their beverages. Again, I mentioned this as a social club. It was really built to be inclusive and incorporate things from the neighborhood. The founders really wanted to kind of get back to the things that would bring us together socially. Things like bowling alleys and just club hangouts, right? So I think you really get that sense, that vibe here. And they do a lot of programming here that does that. They'll have bands play, but it's not a big space, so it's like little trios. And so everyone comes together. They host happy hours. They do things like family dinners where you sign up and eat with people you've never met before. So there really is a cool sense of community here. There's also a whole floor for co-working, and it's a perfect space for that. I come in maybe once a week to co-work here because it's just away from the house, but it's also just around different people. You hear people talking about different challenges. It's really, really cool. It's a very awesome space.
Not to mention great cocktails.
Not to mention great cocktails, but not during work hours. Never during work hours. Right?
I'll hold you to it.
Yeah, I'm going to be on video. Oh, no, that's the water. Yeah, and the dining is fantastic. They have a restaurant here it's fantastic. They got this rooftop with a little pool you can hang out in. It's a great space to come. And last thing I'll say about Common House, I'm kind of raving about it at this point, is all of the art is local. So they got local artists to do it. In fact, I brought a friend one time, and in the stairwell they have a mural, and he was looking at it. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's like a friend of mine. And he texted him, and the guy was like, yeah, they hired me to do this mural. So he was like, oh my God, my friend did that. I had no idea. So it's really cool. It's a super cool space.
That's awesome.
All right, we will switch to our second drink here in a second. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I'll ask you one more question, then we'll take a little break and switch beverages. So the question is, I think the general buzz around AI has raised data literacy across the board. And I often make the analogy, like my mom knows what AI is now and understands that data is what feeds it. That's probably the extent of it, but she knows that now, whereas 10 years ago, she thought I was a computer tech. Like, she didn't understand data management, data warehousing, things like that, right?
Yep.
So it's really cool that you see this rising tide of data literacy where people are understanding this underlying data that drives how all these things work, right? Without it, they don't work. So my question for you is, do you think there's misconceptions out there that have become these general misconceptions that are wrong or maybe even dangerous?
Well, that's a heck of a question.
We only ask the tough ones.
I can tell. I can tell. I think you could probably spend a whole seminar on that very subject, to be honest with you, because you would want to break it down to the public dialogue, to corporate data literacy, health data literacy.
Okay, I'm taking notes for a summit. The Dataforce Summit coming 2025.
Yeah, I mean, no one has an answer to these questions yet, right? And regulations lag, as probably they should. Otherwise, there would be no innovation. But in a lot of cases, they're really lagging.
Right.
So, is there danger? That's another summit topic, because is there ever really danger in knowledge?
Right.
You know, there's a whole.
Are you giving me a consultant answer here where it depends? Or your whole answer is it depends?
No, I'm just shaping it to what I actually want to say.
All right.
Oh, you got me. I think the short answer is it raises some risks, but I think also AI is starting to, or let's call them the AI techniques, pattern matching techniques, behavioral pattern matching techniques, is starting to give us some advantages to improve data literacy and to democratize it even more, where we're less worried that important data gets leaked. And we can pursue sharing more data. One way to think about it at a high level, and maybe we'll leave that here today, is you might be aware of EDR, right? It's something you do with device management. Think about it as active antivirus. Antivirus today works by recognizing a piece of code that might be malicious and stopping it, but it has to have seen it before. EDR is informed by machine learning techniques and is able to stop something that hasn't been seen before, so long as you're running it.
Right.
And I think those principles are going to begin to be applied to data layers. Right. So yes, we still have roles, we still have privileges. We're still concerned about row and column level permission and access and security, encryption and the rest. But maybe we also can loosen things up a little bit and look to AI to be able to default to sharing and be more trustworthy in constraining data based on pattern, time, access, role, identity, and so on, dynamically for the people who are using it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense. That's cool. So many cool ideas.
There's so much to dig into in this subject.
So we'll talk more about that at our upcoming seminar.
Okay, sounds good.
No, that's really interesting. That's I hadn't even really thought about that particular aspect of role-based access control being a thing of the past, because AI now manages that. And
it's coming.
Yeah, man, it's a brave new world, huh?
It's something.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we take a break and grab our next drink?
Sure.
And come back with some more questions.
Sounds good.
This is called the Uncommon Grounds. It is tequila, amaro, lemon, agave, and grapefruit peel. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah,
that'll work.
Great. Ooh, that is good.
I'm glad we're keeping the grapefruit theme going here.
Yeah. These are very refreshing.
Yeah,
perfect for a hot summer day.
Yeah.
It's got to be 92 out there or something.
At least, so we should just stay right here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's order 4 more of these. And there goes the whole weekend. Let's do it.
Yep, I'll be walking home.
Okay, just a few more questions for you. One, what do you think the role of data engineering is in the future? 4 years, 5 years? How do you see that role shifting? Okay, maybe 2 years. So
2 years, back it up. Counselor. You're going to be a counselor to people who are anxious about their data.
That's a good answer.
I think fundamentally it's going to stay the same. There's a lot is invested in the collection and curation of data. Sure. It happens at massive scale. What'll continue is what's been going on for the last several years, I think, whereas you still need to have it's always important to have fundamental skills. I'm a product of a liberal arts education, so I'll always go back to that, but you should know, I'm not saying you should know relational algebra necessarily, but everyone should have very, very strong fundamental data skills. But increasingly, the platforms and the ISVs that we work with are providing the tool sets that we need to work with. So there's an increasing load, I think, on us to have mastery of those feature catalogs. You have to understand what tools you're working with.
Right. Right.
And that, so I think that will continue. I think
That's nearly a full-time job, right? The space and data is constantly. What's that like yearly image they put together of all the logos? And it's now this massive
Enormous
poster with 1,000 different offerings.
It's a lot out there.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And there'll be consolidation. Again, a whole nother subject. There'll be entire solutions that are completely overcome by events. Right. And we'll see what happens to them. But I think partly the job is going to be understanding feature catalogs. Because that's what a lot of customers care about, right? An investment's been made, you need to get value from that investment. But we will always need to keep an eye on those fundamental skills, because when the problems come up, they will get thornier.
Sure.
Right, because it'll be more difficult to understand the cascade of things that happen, above all where AI is involved in them. And sure, there'll be AI solutions where you can start to query your error catalog, your error logging, and not just that, but imagine full-on observability. You've got the entire picture in front of you that you can interrogate to help you. But you're going to have those fundamental skills. Yeah,
that makes sense. And this is kind of a follow-on to that, and really the whole conversation. But I love to ask, what are your big predictions for the next 2 years? Like what's a big? This could come to pass. I don't know. What are your big predictions?
So what horizon?
24 months. 24 months.
24 months.
Let's keep it somewhat sane. If I asked you 5 years, there's no way you'd be anywhere near.
No.
And if you were.
Yeah.
It'd be like an oracle.
Okay. So I think about it more as questions with probabilities. Yeah. Does Salesforce buy Snowflake? Does AWS buy, or Azure buy Databricks? Those are probably the high probability questions that are occupying my mind. And I probably think along those lines. The probability of that actually happening, I don't know, it's hard to speculate.
Not zero.
Non-zero, but also not enough information to be stochastic with an answer. But I think that, so if we're talking about macro level changes that are happening, certainly AI is going to be much more prevalent. We'll be interrogating our data sets instead of querying our data sets, which is what we all wanted all along anyway, so can hardly complain. Yeah,
it's a business analyst dream right there.
SQL was supposed to be something an executive could use.
That's right.
Right, so it's just finally arriving.
Yeah.
And we
got there in the end.
We've seen some nice demos over the last couple of days. Both Databricks and Snowflake have some very, very good work to show there, and others too. So I think we'll start seeing that. The real question will be, what do the data contracts look like between our applications and the data layers that they're serving?
Right.
How abstract is that going to become?
Sure.
And that one is probably the third area that I would spend some time thinking on, but I don't have an answer to that one. Yeah. Just that the handshake will be more and more automated.
Right.
With
it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. Well, that'll be interesting. We've got an interesting 24 months ahead of us.
Yes, we do.
It's going to be wild times. It's been a wild 12 months.
It has. Actually, maybe the insight that I think everyone should really take from all this is it's never been easier to build good product. Right. Making data more accessible like this means that your products can be more adaptive. And now it's not just hype speak for the conference. Right. This isn't a TED Talk. This is here now. Right. So it's, if you think more creatively about the way that we build things for people to interact with, you couldn't live at a better time than right now.
That's right. It's crazy. Well, good answer. And that'll lead us right to our final question that I ask everybody.
All right.
And that is, if you were giving advice to someone brand new to this field right now, fresh out of college, maybe looking at a career transition, what's the number one piece of advice you would give?
Be curious and chase it. Yeah. That would be the first thing. If you're, there's always a role for a specialist, but not for a rigid one. That's the fastest way to ensure that you're going to run into relevance difficulties.
Get your cheese moved.
Get your cheese moved. So I think, so stay curious. It's a very high level one, but I also would say that'd be it.
Yeah.
If we need to be more specific, I'd say study some math. Understand probability, because everything that's happening right now is running off of statistics and probability. Even the LLMs are exactly that.
Right.
And know the fundamentals. Know C, know the structured languages, know how a compiler works, know how data is structured, why it's structured, why referential integrity was and is important.
Right.
Those are the types of insights that will give you like at least two benefits, right? One is you will gain mastery of tool sets a lot faster, right? Yeah, because you understand what's problems they're solving at a fundamental level. That's number one. And number two is it's going to give you better insight on what the holes are that maybe, just maybe, you could fill.
Sure, that makes sense.
And you have the next great product.
Yeah. And even as things change, those foundations don't really. I mean, they're fundamentally still something everyone should know. And I think in some cases, we moved away from that. I mean, there were a lot of, I've known data engineers who didn't know how to do data modeling, and things that I took for granted that I learned years ago because they were the basics, and then they're probably even the cutting edge. But, knowing things like what you mentioned, referential integrity, and understanding what that means and why it's important, that was a skill that is sometimes lost. And, yeah. And
programming is not data. Like that's easy to lose to, actually.
Right.
Especially with adaptive layers and things like that. You still need to know, like you just said, how to organize data, and understand why you're doing it. What it really means when you're thinking transactionally versus analytically.
Sure.
If that will even be a distinction we need to make in a few years.
But it has been for so long, it's going to still play some role.
Right.
Legacy systems aren't going anywhere for a while.
COBOL's still out there.
That's right. You make a lot of money doing COBOL right now.
I don't recommend that you do that, but.
All right. Those are all the questions I got. Anything else you want to share while you have the mic?
Just that this is an incredible facility. This is a great location. It's been a ball being your guest. I've been treated incredibly well. I felt very welcome. So
cheers. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, this is an awesome space. So shout out to the Common House team. They've taken great care of us.
They have. And to the mixologist responsible for this wonderful thing.
Yeah, they are. They are fantastic. Yeah. I've spent some dollars at the bar here. If I'm being totally honest, over the years, they have my credit card on file. They put it to good use. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Andy, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. Until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection one episode at a time.